Oh my gosh, I just realized I had the sound out muted. There we go. The sound of YouTube was muted the whole time. I'm sorry. There we go. I could throw the background in too. What the hell? Hi, everybody. All right, so we got kind of a choppy consolidation out of the 5-second chart here. Looking at the 1-minute chart, we've made 3 attempts at breaking out here and failed all 3 times, so we're likely to come back and retrace to about 399.40. And we can actually just draw a line from here to here to get it. And that lines right up with what we drew here. Well, more or less. We could take and adjust it.
Those 3 failed breakouts are perfect. They like looking at the IWM or the whatever. You really see it super clean as they failing to break out 3 times in a row, or even times in a row.
Well, I mean, we knew where the supply zone was.
Yep.
And, you know, each time it reached out, it got hammered down. But that still doesn't negate the fact that we can still get a trend day out of this. It's like kind of testing the waters because it did poke out.
This is gonna be my first new broker, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
He's a nice day. I want your first, like, you know, I want my first 100 trades to be really good, and then call them and be like, "Hey, help me out with commissions."
Right?
Yeah.
What have we here? The beginnings of a morning star, if it'll make it. Or this is the quick 3-bar trade. Either we get a bar, spinner bar, and we get support down here at 399.50, or we get a quick run up to about half that bar, 399.77, and then a rip down. Either way, the pressure is selling here until it's not. This is a doji party. And if you know, the definition of the doji is really just indecision. So if they're indecisive here, you can actually get a quick move either way. And either you get a measured move to the downside, which takes us down to that 399.50, or you get a bounce and a rip back first to test about 399.78 to 399.80, a little over half of this bar. Bam, there it goes. And then if you breach that 8 period, you can start to trend here. Looking at the fan line that we had printed on our 5-second chart, went right to that sucker and got rejected. What else is there? That 200 period that I put on all my charts.
Yo, I'm gonna get going, yo.
All right, man.
My bad. Jeez.
Thanks for stopping by. It's always
Yes, sir. Good talking to you.
Always a pleasure to have old friends stop by, man. And you're welcome here anytime.
For sure. For sure. All right. Peace.
See you, man. All right, we're going to get the scoop. Previous regression line is the target if this breaks this resistance here. Oops, and thanks there, Eric.
These zones are missing. Yep. Take them away.
What's that?
I had that measured move zone from the last one box up in my charts, and it's messing me all up. So I think it's a.
This is pretty damn choppy. This is challenging.
Yeah. And I'm gonna take it easy today. This is unless it gives me some kind of really clear. I'm expecting it to roll over, but I'm not gonna bet on it.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if Intel Corp is going to continue trending here. And I can probably I was trying to roll that position out yesterday to like a late May expiration, but it just wasn't worth it to me. The April 21st still has a lot of value.
What would have cost?
It would have been risking about 12 cents into a $5 wide instead of my initial 4-cent risk. There's that snap. Right to the regression line, dude.
Perfect.
Love that.
What's that for a move? Move, yeah. No. I have such a hard time reading it in the charts in the 5-second chart. I have to do the conversion over to,
Yeah. It just never ceases to amaze me how I can just draw lines on a 5-second chart and know where all the short-term targets are.
Awesome, dude. It's too fast for me to trade it up. I can't. It really is.
I mean, if you got a quick hand on like Trade-O-Vate or an app with really snappy trading buttons for market orders, you can scalp the crap out of that on the ES and the MES.
I don't think the trades get executed fast enough to trade. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to trade with them. They're actually, I mean, you can't see it, but it seemed like it was slow in comparison to, it's definitely not direct to market.
Right. I mean, it seemed to work fine for me, but like, I did love Trade-O-Vate. It was fast. I could do these little trades all day long, but then, I always had that sword hanging over my head. Well, what if they, lock us out of our accounts today? Or what if they have, a data failure for like 20 minutes? It's like any of those positions I was in because of the leverage I was using to take advantage of those moves, I could have like burnt the account, so.
Yeah.
I was always leery of that, and it was just like, by the third strike, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this crap. Screw this guy. Screw this broker. I'm just not going to use it anymore.
Yeah. I heard the executors are actually better on NinjaTrader than they are on Trade-O-Vate. I wonder if that's. I never traded with NinjaTrader, so I wouldn't know. And they're the same company, so it seemed weird to me.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you ever use NinjaTrader?
Never used NinjaTrader. I had always heard lots of things that people would say about NinjaTrader, and I never liked what I heard.
Stupid to pay for something.
Yeah.
NinjaTrader is listening to me say that.
They might be,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest and true about any time I speak of a broker. I'm not gonna go and sugarcoat things. I know they're an affiliate partner. We do share a link for them with a discount attached, but if they're gonna have these issues, I'm not gonna go out and say, oh man, it's all sunshine and rainbows. Be straight up honest. I'm not gonna go and hold anything back on that. If it's a crappy broker, it's a crappy broker.
Yeah, no, completely not.
I mean, they could be paying me $1 million a year. I'll still be honest about it. Like, no, you're wasting your money on me, and you should be spending it on fixing your problems. I'm just that kind of dude, not motivated by these guys. All right. Took profit on half of the remaining position on Intel that I have. Right on that green hammer, and I'm kind of sitting here waiting to see if it's going to hop off that 8 period one more push. But the 1 minute chart says it's likely to come and test this $30.20 mark first. And we got SPY, just hit the third time on that previous regression line. We could break it here. This fan line's a little out of sight, but I've seen it happen before. Let's start a new one right here.
That's a pretty crazy target, man.
Yeah, way the hell up there. Boom, we're nailing this one now. Oh, come on. Don't fall over as I mention it.
No, I mean, it's coming back to the middle of the regression line. That's what you expect, right?
Yeah. Respect my authority. Watch this 8 period here. There we go. IWM showing some strength.
All is coming. Could very well be true, but I wouldn't bet on it right now.
Nope.
Wouldn't short this thing.
As soon as we breached the 8 period here, we knew we were coming back. And there's one more fan right here. Which gives us a micro regression zone right here. I'm going to make that one purple.
50% for you.
What's that?
That's just the 50% of that.
Yeah, it's just a split down the middle of that channel. Whenever you see divergence on your trend lines, just draw a regression line.
I don't understand why your drawings lag your system. It's
Yeah,
pretty
me too.
chart, you know, you're charting every single. I guess that'll do it.
I mean, it's not like it's hogging resources to draw on a chart, but boy, it seems to do it. I'll go and like after my stream, I'll go and just clear all my lines off of SPY, and it'll work fine.
Yeah, but the thing is, it must because it has to put those on a. I mean, it has to lock them in a space, and then it has to, as you shift your screen, it has to shift every single one of those points that you put out. You know?
Right. Well, that's probably the reason why they don't allow the sub 1 minute chart drawings to transfer to the longer time frames. Because I could draw on this all day long and have like 1 million lines on this thing by the time the day's on.
Can you transfer your lines from a minute to like 5 minute without a problem?
Oh yeah, no, they automatically transfer. Yeah, they're all there. Like it'll go to every other time frame, all the way out to whatever. They'll be here.
Oh yeah, like that. Well, you mean you can't even? I haven't even thought about that. I wonder if I can check and see what happens with trading.
Like I have these guys here that are old. I'll get rid of those.
Yeah, they'll transfer. TradingView, they transfer the drawing.
Yeah. So we're playing in that lull zone, by the way, right here. Either this will be a bear flag and break over, and then we'll attack this trend line down here. Or we will bounce off of this, go back through regression, and resume our trend. It's looking more likely to break over. I'll keep deleting these to speed my system up a little bit. I'm trying to remember where this line came from. Yeah. That was part of the diamond before. That was the last line I left on it. No need for that anymore. Not liking that 5 minute tweezer top that's going to close.
I have the opposite problem. About trend lines, and then it hits them perfectly, but I don't remember what the trend lines are.
You're a little low there. I couldn't quite understand that.
Oh, sorry, man.
It's okay. Yeah, if this closes anything like a tweezer top, watch out, because this will rip right down to that bottom, that base, right at 398.80. And that happens to be about the top of our gap, so. I will watch that 5 minute candle kind of closely.
I'm trying to change the settings on my mic while we're talking. Is the sound okay now, or is it any better?
That's a lot louder.
Okay.
Oops, get back here. Damn it, I don't want to grab the whole thing. There we go. All right, watch the last 15 seconds of this 5-minute candle. It's a nail biter. Yeah, that's going to be bearish engulfing, son. All right, careful. Either we get a 3-bar wedge or we get a break. We'll watch that 5-second chart closely for that.
Interesting. The Russell looks like a lot more like it wants to roll over than everything else does.
Yeah, it's kind of looking that way. A little bit sickly.
Mm-hmm. But this probably isn't a horrible risk-reward go short at this moment. But I still don't like it.
It's kind of iffy looking. All right. Got my close on the rest, or on half of the rest of my Intel position. Now I'll wait on the rest because it's a free position anyway. There's your break. Sayonara.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, we'll probably test 399.40. It's right where that key pivot is too. Kind of weird though, it went right back to regression here. Whenever you have these channels, you also want to be mindful of it can divide into 8s as well.
Yeah.
It's like you can go and divide it from 2 to 4 to 8 16ths. As the channel broadens, those lines will become more and more relevant. Now we're back to regression. Holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah, fake out.
Yep. I mean, you got the bearish engulfing here on the 5-minute, but like I said, you can end up with a 3-bar wedge where you get bigger range out of preceding bars. So you get 1 bar where you get, you know, the open and close could be from base down here at like 399.80 up to like 430 cents. And then they're going to rip it the other way. Wow. No real good setup here, so I mean, we're just going to sit and wait. At this point, we've got the makings of a potential short-term bullish measured move, and that would be to the next division. Yeah, maybe 399.98 here, but it's got to breach that 200 first. That's a very short-term trade. If it even materializes, not worth the risk. The risk is actually more to the downside. All right, time to make a couple other adjustments. I went and sold some puts to open on Bed Bath & Beyond yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the hell of it. If I get a sign, my cost basis is like 70 cents, so.
Yeah. That ended up being like $70 for you, though, right?
Well, it was trading at like 79 when I sold them, or 78 when I sold them. I sold April 6th expiration, $1 puts for 27 cents a piece, and not really moving much. I mean, they're trading at 26 cents a piece now. But as time goes by, you know, if you look at the front week, you know, May 31st expiration, the same put is trading at 22 today, and its low was 21. So I can scalp that put in and out, or if the price breaks $1, I can just sit there and let it expire.
I'm just working on your side.
Exactly. And I mean, that company's at risk of filing for bankruptcy here momentarily. So that's a high risk position to be in. But in the meantime, if people are trading it, you know, expecting it to be like a big old short squeeze or something. There's enough volatility in it to make those options quite valuable. And, you know, as long as I get out below break even, I don't care. And if I do get assigned on it, even better, because I'll be assigned under risk. I can just profit those shares immediately, or I can start selling covered calls against them to recover even more. Bam! Right down to that line.
RT is back to the open.
Yeah. So like I can plot these on that 5-second chart all day long. Sometimes you just don't get a tradable setup out of it. But if you know where those are, you can figure out exactly where they're going to react. So this is one of those days where I can either draw them or I can trade them, but I can't do both.
If you're rooting on the 30-second chart, I'm sure that you could trade it at the same time, right? I mean, that would be the same.
It's close. Like you could pick off channels and stuff with a 30-second chart pretty easily.
I see. It's not as clean though.
Yeah. The 5-second chart just, I mean, I can go and pick off all the lines on a 5-second chart, know exactly where the resistance and support points are in any condition.
You get your support and your resistance off the higher time frames anyway, mostly.
Right, so I'll go and look at the 1 minute and 5 minute and figure out, you know, where the key pivots are, where the zones are, all that stuff. And then the 5-second chart is realistically just trading the noise in between.
Oh.
This is an old fan line that's becoming a target here. There's your regression push. And this is looking a little bit more bearish than bullish, but this can still become a 1 minute tweezer here. Sorry, that's a 15-minute chart. Here, you can get your little 3-bar reversal. But you can see we've made a 1 minute tweezer in this area. So this becomes a key zone for rotation. Right at 399.55, base of this candle. Breach that, that's a pivot. Run back, 50% retracement of this. Takes it right to 399.82. And look, our 5-second 200 period, 399.80. It's also a division of the channel. So you can go and fan this out from here too. If you can hear me, bud, this is just a very, very challenging market to trade. Yesterday sucked. We got like maybe 2 or 3 good trades out of yesterday. Today it's just as choppy, but it's a little bit faster, so we can plot it. It's just a matter of waiting for the setup to complete before you grab your entries and exits, knowing what you're seeing. So like here we have this channel. You know, we could just draw the 50% line right up across the top of these guys. Or as jeez, man, that is some glitchy ass drawing. That's annoying. But yeah, there's your target right there. Just a quick channel retrace. I've got to go clean my SPY chart today. It's just,
Yeah, it's the cobwebs are getting to you now.
yeah, it's just like I said, it just, I don't notice it taking up too many resources or anything, or maybe the cache is just not opened up enough on it. But it just kind of gets annoying and twitchy when I get more and more drawings on it. Yet over here, I could go and draw on this stuff all day long.
I think VKTX is taking off again today.
That thing was fun last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't trade it actually, so. But
well, it's like it popped up on the volume leader day, or the pre-market gainer or whatever the hell it is, gapper. And within seconds, we had a trade target on it, and bam, it nailed him.
That was awesome.
This is a bit choppy in this. I think it would come back probably to about 1580 again.
Oh yeah, it really ripped today. Went from well, it didn't. I mean, in comparison to what it did yesterday, it's continuing its trend. 15 to 16 today.
Kind of hanging around that area. If it can break 16 and a quarter, it can go for 1690 on a measured move. Let's watch it. So you can just literally draw your boxes, baby. One. I'll draw them from the bottom up because they're easier. Two. Boop. Measured move target. Oh, 1715, even bigger than I thought. Never forget the halfway point. Always divide it. You can get a half leg or a full leg, and you can trade either. The breakout has got to be right above this resistance zone here, though. And let me make these a little more translucent. There we go.
What did you get on that? You got an extension 17.
1714. This is your resistance for a breakout for entering the trade, and then target 1 is going to be 1670.
I was just wondering something. If you go back to the trend that started on the 20th on that, you take the measured move on that one, you get to basically the same thing, but it puts me at 770.
Trend line from the 20th?
Yeah, if you go, wait, am I making X? Why am I seeing something? Oh, sorry, man. I'm looking at the way back. You go back to the 16th of December 2022.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you'd have to draw it from way back there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you take that on the 19th when it broke out, beginning of that trend there, up to the high before it pulled back and broke the trend, you get a box, right? And that.
Well, I mean, you can go from here to here. That's a box too. This would be a 30 leg though. Let me go back to the 1 minute real quick. It's actually breaking that resistance point right now. Intel's just kind of creeping on up there. And SPY is testing this 50% line. That could snap 399. Maybe to peak at 400 briefly if it gets through this. It's kind of looking yucky here on the 5 second.
Everything looks a little bit yucky right now. It's kind of funny. Tech is the only thing that's really performing right now. Else is tech.
Here, VKTX, it broke that resistance, came back, tested for support. Watch this candle. I'll zoom way in. If it can't hold that support line, it'll fade. Yeah, they're going to sell that. Watch them stop hunt it too, though. There's another support zone right between these areas.
This is another crappy day to trade, dude.
Yeah, it's choppy as hell, but
oh.
Damn, I can't get my. There we go. But you can basically just draw a line right between the boxes here and know where your critical zone is. The go no go line.
Yeah.
So if they're going to stop hunt it, they'll push it right to that, and then they'll bounce it off. But if they're going to let it run, it's got to stay above this pivot right here. Meanwhile, our 5-second on SPY is retracing.
What would need to happen for you to switch, like 100% switch your bias bearish on this?
On SPY?
Yep.
Well, let's see here. Let me zoom out. We could play the gap and then retrace.
That would be retrace the gap, fall below the gap, and we're definitely bearish.
Right. So it could take all day to play out, but like you have, if you look at this as if it was a triple top, so like you have your high here, you have your head here, like your shoulders, head and shoulders type of thing. Left shoulder, head, all the way out at about 230 would be where you'd expect your right shoulder if it creeped down to the bottom of that liquidity zone and bounced back up to the pivot. Your right shoulder would be right about here, and then your power hour would be bearish as hell to trace that gap down to 396.50.
Yep.
It's very possible. We've seen that happen multiple times on SPY here. In fact, just recently, we had this one. Shoulder, this was on a 2-hour, mind you, but shoulder, head, came right up to it, made the second shoulder in the pre-market the next day, and then slammed down. This would just be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Off that pivot again. This is going to be choppy as hell, but it'll be definitely scalpable if you're real quick with that MES and ES trading. You've got to be snappy and on your P's and Q's for your stops. And there's a fan line right here. I would no longer call this a division line. This is just a new fan line.
Fan line, because you don't start it from the same point, basically, right?
Right. If you're looking at division, we'd have to shorten this up and basically just come from here to here. So we would start a new line or a new channel, and your division would be down the middle of that. Although it's about to fail that support. There it goes. Could be back in that channel later though.
I've never thought about how you build up the lines like that. If you're creating new fan lines based on, you know, taking old one, making a new trend line, and then you have to put the new 50% regression line in it.
Right.
It just basically continues. That's pretty cool.
It's just every time you end one pattern, you start another.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I probably would have done it the exact same way without thinking about it. But now it just clicked that that's what you always got to do.
So now we're playing with this support line, and you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact to your lines. You just have to know where the respective price targets are as things move along. There's your regression touch. Bam.
I know we've spoken about this before, but what did you think when you look at TrendSpider's their auto trend lines or whatever?
So
Did that make it save you any time?
Yes and no. I can't get below a 1-minute chart on TrendSpider, so it's like I couldn't prove it against my analysis on a 5-second chart. But when I look at it on a 1-minute chart, it's very similar to what I can do, but they always tend to start from a same origination. So like they use the definition of a fan line where you start from one point and you fan out, you know, all the different lines. Whereas I'm making new lines that are just basically lines that'll translate a trend and find your accumulation zones. So like, if we start from point here, this was a support point at one point. Then you come down from this trend here, there's an accumulation here and here. So technically you could draw a line up through here too. And effectively knowing where you have 3 contact points of a trend line, you have a trend line, whether price is above it or below it. So you got 1, 2, 3. And effectively, it becomes just a moving target. There's that second fan line going to be reached now. I spoke about it. It's right there. So you would expect a third touch somewhere in this neighborhood. But effectively, when you draw them in a 5-second chart, I mean, by the time you finish them drawing them, it moves like damn near already over or already there. So like, the idea with drawing them at all is to know where you can train your trading speed. So like, you can go and pick up these patterns without drawing them. You can see them over time after having drawn them for a long time, and then you can literally pick your trades really quickly. You can know where it's expected to bounce, and if you're trading futures, you can just literally hit the market button, buy an order, go long, bam, trade it to here, sell it, done in seconds. So like, you compare that to swing trading on a 1-minute chart, it'll still be useful because you'll know exactly where you can get the maximum efficiency out of your entries and exits on a 1-minute chart. You can also cross-verify the 1-minute chart to know where your zones are, as well as the 5-minute chart. You can kind of figure out where your key pivot is, where all your price action's telling you where to go. You can tell where all the short-term liquidity zones are. Like anytime you see a wick here, you could literally draw a box here if you want, as if it was a demand zone. Knowing all of that data and then correlating it into watching the 5-second chart, you can trade the 5-second chart, or you can trade the 1 and 5-minute charts. And at that point, you can maximize your efficiency from each of those time frames, no matter which chart you're trading.
Yeah, I've been trying. I was paper trading 5-second chart just on one of it, and it wasn't horrendous. But what I found was that I was getting in and out of a lot more trades than what I wanted to be trading. Wasn't that sounds kind of weird, because you're like what you're trying to ride. It really is 2-3 points. 2-3 points. 150 trades.
Right.
Which is awesome. It's a lot of action. Not massive move.
The hardest part of that, though, is resisting the urge to overtrade. So like, you can know where these are, and you can see like here there was no real setup to trade here. So where would I take this trade? Well, I'd take it on a breach right here, here to here. Quick little measured move, right? So if I tried to get in on this, I would end up over trading. But if I just waited patiently for that setup to finish and know that this was an accumulation off of a pivot, off of an angular, and there was your break, get in on this bar, you can scalp a little quick 3-pointer because you know the 200's right here, you know this trend line's here. You can make that little move, and then you've got to resist trying to get back in on the downside, or if you're quick enough to hit the reverse button, you can take the reversal on that, but that would have been risky because you don't know if this is going to be a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1 until it rejects. So like, this would have taken you out of your stop right here. So we had this target up here as fast as I could draw it. If this accumulated enough and broke out, it would have went there. But it didn't. So that would have been over trading, and you would have ended up giving some back right there. So it really comes down to watching for your highest quality setup with the highest probability, on top of knowing where all these pivot points are, or all of these angular support and resistance zones are, as well as playing with a few key metrics. You've got your moving averages, like you can take your bounce off the 8 period, and if you saw this right here where it arced over, take your damn profit, be done, sit on your hands until you see the next setup.
Yeah.
You could do it that way.
The way that you always said before, which was basically like you're trading the pattern on the 1 minute, but then the thing is that you can take your entries off the patterns on the you're trading the setup on the 1 minute. You
Right.
can trade the patterns on the 5 second. Your entry.
Exactly. So like you can maximize your efficiency by taking your entries and exits on the 5-second chart, but you can see the setup on the 1 minute chart and the 5-minute chart much more clearly. So like knowing about this channel right here and knowing where the retrace target was, that makes for a profitable trade, because most of the time when you have these channels, it's got a pretty high probability of retracing 50%. And it nailed it. So run that on your 5-second chart, knowing exactly when to get in and out of that. It's all right here. That whole move.
Awesome. I need to jump off. My kids just got back, and I had to throw some food in them.
Yeah. Throw some food to the pack. There you go.
Probably. They've been screaming. They're sick. I have to I
Yeah.
have to get in there.
No, I understand.
Talk to you later, man.
All right, man. Speak soon. I'll probably hang out till about 11 with everybody.
Sorry, Jeremy, I've had to do some work today. I'm getting so overwhelmed with this project. I'm struggling to trade or pay attention to the Discord at all at the moment. But did it turn into a trend day today?
It started to, then it kind of gave up that trend. So we might not get a trend day today until later. The other thing that's kind of looming is a possible reversal here. So we have a shoulder head. We could see a right shoulder right around 230, and then a breakdown to retrace this gap. So we'll either get a reversal day or a trend day. The trend day would say finish this trend, complete the bullish move up to 403. We got rejected here at $400.27. So we might not get a trend day. We might get a reversal day. But if we can hold the key support area and not put in another right shoulder, so to speak, we could finish that trend day towards the middle of the day, or towards the end of the day. So we could still get a trend day, or we could get a reversal day. We're likely to get one or the other. It's not like yesterday where it was mostly chop, although it did end up being a trend day yesterday. Overall, it was still choppy and very difficult to trade.
Good morning, guys.
Morning. We're about to merge with an old line here, a couple old lines, sorry. And that would be your bearish measured move target right to this guy. So we could easily retrace back to regression, and then from there we might get another trade we can break. Watch what happens to the 8 period in here. It was a good idea to take profit on my Intel Corporation position. That's a done deal. I got a couple stragglers left on there. It's a free position twice over now. I can just let the rest of it do its thing and convert it to butterflies, whatever I want to do. Sky's the limit. Or I could just close it all and take 100% right now. It doesn't matter. What else we got going on? Still kind of watching the regional bank situation, and FRC's kind of ran out of gas at that resistance point. Let me get that drawn. Looks like VKTX kind of bit the dust too. Broke that key zone and down she went. This is one of those stocks where, like back in the penny stock room days, I would draw out the targets and it would meet them later. So this can still accumulate here along the 200 and slowly regress back into finishing a bullish measured move to the top of the box. Certainly, keep an eye on it. You can still scalp it, but just be a little leery of a couple key resistance zones. And don't get caught trying to chase that. Just scalp it. Now let me get FRC up here. So this was our angular resistance line on FRC. It's skewed to the 1 minute chart, which for some reason Webull does to me. The 5 minute chart's a little bit more accurate, and then the 15-minute chart gives us the goods. The 2 hour chart is where that line kind of originated. That one's getting laggy too. I got too many drawings on it. Down from here, the lowest low trended along here. There's a bar into it, and we had the pullback in the secondary. So essentially it's just 2 parallel trend lines. And if this, then that. So if we break this, we'll go here. Break this, we'll go to the next pivot. If we break above this key pivot, I'll make this the yellow line. We could see this thing start to get bullish up to a supply zone. And if we can breach that supply zone, my gosh, we've got pivots all the way up that whole channel. And 50% of this channel is right in the mix at about 31.50. I'm going to drop a pivot there and I'll paint that one white. Just to know about where 50% of this channel is. So if it gets loose, if it starts to get really bullish and starts to halt to the upside several times, ultimately that's where we want to trade it to. So as for all of the FOMO traders expecting it to go back over $100, I would say no way in hell unless something really dramatic happens. Look at the weekly chart and look left. You'll see there's a critical resistance zone before $100. So I mean, yeah, we could see this thing creep on up to 90, but dude, let's be real. We only want to trade retracements. So if half of this whole thing moves, $70 would be about where I would hang my hat on it. Like, okay, if it hits 70 and I can scalp it all the way up to 70 up all these pivots, cool. It will pay me well, but I'm not going to sit there and FOMO this thing up to $100. There's no way in hell. It can do it. I'm not going to deny it. I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff out there, but this is hopium and dreamium up here. There's nothing else to sell. So yeah, that's my take on it. If you go read like social media where they follow tickers, FRC, there is so much hype in there saying, oh, mother of all, short squeezes, this and that. I just hear AMC and freaking GameStop over and over and over again. Get the lemmings to chase it, and the real traders will scalp the lemmings. Sorry. There's got to be a loser for every winner. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way of the market. Certainly got some opportunities to trade it, though. That's for sure. I mean, there's plenty of moves to be had here. I mean, that's quite a move. This is scalpable like a volatile penny stock ever was. Alrighty then, back to SPY. Got our descending line here. You can think of this as if it's just a regression line, so we can make it the color of my typical regression lines. God, that's laggy. Made a half leg move right up to it. It's the same as this line. And we're accumulating here, so we can see this break out into yet another measured move. And we can pick off another new fan line right there. And we've got another one right up here. Same point. We can fan this one, have it actually be a true fan. And if you really want, you could get crazy and draw a channel regression line in here too. Good Lord. I gotta clear my chart, man, because this is laggy as all hell. And it's all a matter of if this, then that. If it breaks this, it'll go there. If it doesn't, well, it'll stay down here. I'm going to borrow this one and adjust it. Breach, rejection, back to the bottom of the liquidity zone. How about that? So between now and about 2:30, we will watch for an accumulation and trend back up to form the proverbial right shoulder of a head and shoulders pattern. There's your left shoulder, head. Watch your right shoulder. If it doesn't quite make it through that 399.40 and starts to roll over, we could be bears into power hour and just dominate this gap. No problem. Hell, it could even snap it like in the next 20 minutes. Who knows? But we're right at the bottom of our liquidity zone. This is our supply zone for today. This was our demand zone down here. A to B, guys. All you gotta do is trade a break. Back to the 1 minute here. There we go. We'll watch this zone for a little while here and see what happens. We've already wicked just about to the bottom of it. And this is a liquidity zone. Hell, these are all liquidity zones. I've been dragging these down my charts for months, or for over a month now. Usually they're developed when I see a wick. I'll just draw it from top to bottom of the wick, drag it over. This one's been expanded on a little bit because it didn't come from this wick. It came from probably a daily chart. Yeah, it probably came from this mess on a daily chart. I don't have to care, I just know where it is. This one here came from a wick on probably this spinner right here, or I might have drew it back here. Yeah, there it was, this wick here. Oh, there's a line I can get rid of. The thing about them is you can kind of adjust them as you go. You can draw a pivot so you know about where it is. Whatever you want to do, but knowing where that liquidity is an absolute must, because when you find a wick on a longer time frame, think of it as if it's just a failed breakout, but it shows where all the limit orders are. So like this whole area is full of limit orders, so a lot of this is going to be traded from one edge to the other edge. And sure enough, we wicked just to it. Technically, if you wanted to, I could adjust it a little bit and bring the top of it to along this edge where all these candles seem to level off right here. I don't need to. I just know about where the liquidity edges are. If this, then that. So if it breaches this, I know it'll likely hit this 398 pivot. You know, could even go further and run all the way down to the 396.50 area. No problem. Knowing where they are is just a way to, if you take a good entry and you're on a position that's just trending on down, you can go and trade it on every pause where you see an accumulation, or you can go and ride the trend down too. So this can be either a swing trade or a series of day trades. However you want to trade it is up to you.
Hey, Jeremy, where did you learn how to map out fan lines?
So anytime you learn to draw a trend line on any chart, it's just a matter of taking that knowledge and adapting it to a much faster moving chart. You can draw fan lines all over your 1 and 5 minute charts too, but it just gets so convoluted so fast you can't see the damn price action. So instead I started drawing them on my 5-second chart. And the way I learned it was just practicing drawing trend lines, and not just trends from peaks to lows, but trends that go through. So like anytime you have a fan line that starts at a low point or a high point and goes through the next accumulation or the next resistance point. So like this line here came to this peak here. It just has to touch a peak or a valley in more than one or more than two places. So you can go from point A to point B and assume a third touch can happen out here. In this case, this line didn't follow through. But you got 1, 2, 3 on this one, and you've got 1, 2, 3 already on this one. You can extend it, and it was in play again. If you listen to like a lot of the really old streams, we would go and trade these channels where we'd have the typical 3, 5, and 7 rule, where you either get 3, 5, or 7 impulses against an angular resistance or support zone on any given channel. That relevance holds to the fan lines as well. So like anytime you find one, extend it out, because sometimes you'll get a 5th or even a 7th approach on that. So if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here's 7. And when you think about it, like, I don't like to map out Fibonacci levels because I can get it faster with a trend line. But Fibonacci levels have the same rule. You got the 1, the 3, the 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on. I mean, you can get Fib levels that just echo all day long. And it's really just price bouncing around between different fan lines. And if you think about the way Fibonacci lines were set up in nature, it's like, they're tracing like the way nature kind of follows a pattern with like the intricacy of a leaf and all the little ribs and stuff in it, or the way the edge of a blade of grass is, or whatever. The Fibonacci is a thing found in nature. And when you're drawing these fan lines, you kind of think about them that way. You're looking at a line that you could draw that shares a common interest in every piece of the seemingly random anatomy. So like you could say these are like palm fronds, and then you could look at the fibers in the palm fronds doing this kind of thing. So realistically, when you learn it, you're really just learning how to kind of put a mental drawing on everything you see. So you're looking at just structure. And whether you're like, a carpenter where you're putting boards together and stuff, they're done at certain increments. To build a wall, there's a 16-inch space between studs, and then you got your nailer across the top, and you got usually 2 top plates in between the nailer and the top of the wall. You got cripples, and you got all kinds of different substructures within that wall, like for doors and windows and stuff. Kind of the same concept. It's really just a repeated structure, even if it seems random, still has a pattern. So like anything you do, whether it's fabricating something, building something, designing something, or programming something, it all kind of has a rhythm to it. It all has kind of a sense of being organic, just natural. So technically, I guess I could say I've been drawing them all my life and didn't even know it. But when I started doing them on a chart, it's really just a matter of finding points of contact or points of commonality. And then it's just drawing a structure. But when I first started drawing them on a chart, I mean, it would be like, you know, you could go look at my lines on my daily chart. I'm looking at, like, you know, descending channels and just points of interest where I can see points of price commonality or price contact. You can see my pivot lines. Typically they're met more than once. Same kind of deal. So I've always been drawing them on my charts, but it's been fairly recently that I started using those, you know, 10 and 5 second charts. And I've noticed that if I just start stacking lines where I can see common points of interest, I can plot out very quick trade targets. So like here was a 1-for-1. You had rejection off of this, accumulation here. 1-for-1 should have met this line, didn't quite meet it, but close enough. That was a tradable moment. I said a lot to answer a simple question, but it's really a complex answer.
No, I understand what you're going through.
It's a lot to say, but it's like a simple thing to think or to do without thinking. All right, so we've got this descending channel here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's probably going to be the bottom where we start to see price breach this angular resistance and come back to a fan line, possibly even go for a full 50% retracement, which is right in here. That's why I just extended that line out. We found the bottom of liquidity. The demand zone has been met. There's your first target. There's another target up here. And don't forget your division lines or your regression lines. Dang, dude, that is glitchy as all hell. I don't know what happened. Jeez, I can't even highlight that one. Where's the end of it? I've got to clear this chart. This is getting nasty. But the neat part isn't necessarily how you draw these lines, it's how you react to them. So like, you know, how would you know there's a 1-to-1 here? Well, it breached an angular extension. Would you see one here? Not yet, but you could if you drew a new line here. Okay, so if you see a support line here, cool. If it breaks it, we get a downside move. There it goes. If it holds it, we get an upside move. There's your 1-for-1. Done. So it's a matter of seeing them fast enough to react to them.
That was a huge bar.
Yeah, I love that one. If my drawing tool wasn't so glitchy, I would have been able to say that was going to hammer through fast enough to catch that.
I was in a trade and I was waiting for it to touch there, and it just blew by my target profit. So I scalped
Nice.
that.
Good job. But that's where the magic happens, is when you get fast enough to draw these and recognize them. You can do it without drawing them. You can just have them there. You can visualize them there and know where your trades are. Yes, it's always good to watch someone chart, but I'm answering a question on YouTube, but I'll say this with extreme reservation. Not everybody's going to chart exactly the same way. What works for one person may not work for others. So I like to show different ways of charting at the same time. So I'm looking at demand supply zones, I'm looking at price ranges, I'm looking at pivots, looking at angulars. You could choose any one of those and just use any one of those and it could work for you. You can also do combinations of them and it might work for you better as a combination than it would be in a singular. So it's going to take experience to discover that for yourself. Whether or not it's going to be copying someone else's ideas of how to trade or coming up with your own based on combinations of different ideas. So like you could have one thing you take from one guy showing you and combine it with something you take from a guy who trades in a completely different style. And you make it your own that way. So it's good to take in all that information, but it's really hard to not be overwhelmed by it. But if you can pick bits and pieces that seem to work well for you through your experience, you can build your own strategies and styles from that. As far as practicing it, a lot of people poo-poo on paper trading, but I'll tell you, it's not just about developing that ability to completely detach yourself emotionally from money in paper trading, because you do. You take risks that you wouldn't even think about trading with real money, but you develop a process. You develop a sense of knowing when to buy and when to sell, and that quick. That process is the important part to develop, and just ignore what money you make in it or what money you lose paper trading. Develop the process first. Find a process that is consistent and profitable eventually. And once you've done that, I always recommend going out and finding a 10-cent stock to scalp around in, because the price action is exactly the same. If it's got volume.
Come on, I'm writing this down. Say it again, Jeremy. Yeah, so you recommend doing this on a what level?
So get your paper trading done first. Figure out your price action, figure out your trading style, and figure out your charting style first. Develop that process to where you can consistently be in a profitable trade without really thinking about it. And also, while being able to set any emotions you have aside, you need to just use your lizard brain and react to things. You cannot let emotion get in the way. It takes too much time. It takes too much energy, and it takes too much focus, and it distorts your vision of what you need to see to trade profitably. Start there. Once you've mastered that and you think you want to throw a couple $1,000s in an account and start playing with large caps, don't. Go find a 10-cent stock and practice just 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 shares or whatever the heck you're comfortable with in a 10-cent stock. Find one with volume and price action that makes sense to your method and go practice that with real money. If you can trade that consistently and you can take, an average dollar of risk in a 10-cent stock and then turn it into $10 over time, you're on the right path.
MES.
And the MES is great for learning price action as well. Although you could start with $1,000 and lose all of it trading just one MES contract over and over again, because if you're not consistently profitable at it, it's like dying by 1,000 razor blade cuts.
Yes, I have very good experience in that.
And once you've gone that route too, it can be very disheartening, and like it can distort your ability to go back and learn the process, because that's always going to be in the back of your mind. Like, dude, I threw $1,000 away. God, you're going to be kicking yourself. It's going to hurt. But if you can just take your head out of that, detach yourself from money, and just go and learn the process over again, start new, wipe it clean, and start over, you'll be back in the game. It'll happen. A lot of people would call it trader's tuition, and I'm like the odd man out on that, because my beginnings were completely different than most other people's beginnings. I started with nothing and slowly built it into something usable. Whereas most people I know who have gotten into trading and become successful at it eventually started with a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and then took turned it around with a little money and at least broke even for what they initially put in. And eventually they crossed that hurdle to become a profitable trader. They call that trader's tuition. Well, my trader's tuition was time. I took a lot of time and did a lot of learning before I even put any money in it. Here we go. We're going to meet this break 1 for 1. Watch this. Come on, just break that line. That's all we need. It can reject here and come back, but this is a setup.
Do you think it's going to revisit that gap up that happened in the pre-market?
If it breaks this angular, it'll at least go back up to about half of the liquidity zone. But if it fails, dude, it can certainly retrace that gap all the way down to the bottom of it. For now, we can day trade it. There's your break. Come on, break this line, and we got a 1 for 1 right here. Yeah, there's a ton of information that people will throw at you, and their heart might be in the right place to teach you how to trade profitably, but realistically, it's like showing someone a door and they're the ones who have to walk through it. And until whoever's trying to teach you this stuff realizes that not everybody can take all this information and immediately jump and run with it, you got to realize that everybody's got to start somewhere, and everybody's going to start somewhere different. We rejected. We're down. We'll wait for another 1 for 1. But long story short, when you get down to being able to show people many different methods of price action trading without overwhelming them, you get to develop a system or a rhythm of things to where you can instinctively trade without even having to think about half this stuff. That's when things get interesting, because the less information does more for you. So you kind of get into a state of you can be overwhelmed, filter out what works for you, and just a couple of things is all it takes. And then eventually you've made it so simple that you don't even have to think about all that information at all, because what you'll find is the time you spend thinking about all this information and trying to figure out all these little tricks and tips and stuff that you've been shown wastes so much time. By the time you realize what's going on, the trade's already over. So when you are trying to become a day trader, you need to be fast, and you need to be able to not have to spend so much time processing everything and just react. So the more simple you can make the information that you need to see to take a trade, the better. And hell, I could just literally ignore everything else and draw these lines on my 5-second chart and just trade my 5-second chart if I want. I can ignore all that. In fact, oftentimes I don't even have to draw this stuff. I can just kind of use my lizard brain or my mind's eye to see about where those lines are without drawing them and just trade them. We're finishing a bigger accumulation here. Go ahead.
Sorry, mate. I'm trying to take all of this in because you're giving me brilliant information here, and I'm trying to fix something at the same time. You know your way of charting here, drawing fan lines. Mm-hmm. Is there a video on this? Because what I like to do sometimes is just sit behind and watch you do it. But is there a video about how to chart up the fan lines in the same place as the diamond charting?
Not yet. I need to develop
no worries.
Dedicated for that. But you could certainly find today's replay and just take a clip of it.
Where's today's replay? What do you mean today's replay? Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah, this is going to YouTube right now.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Sorry, I've been in and out of the Discord today because I'm trying to work at the same time. I hate working and trying to trade and learn trading. It's just you can't do the two at once, you know.
It's hard. It took me years. And it took me years to get to this level. Like I've been trading and working for a long time, but like different time frames have played out. When I was working, I had a first goal of becoming a part-time worker so I could trade in the mornings because I can day trade for an hour a day before the market opened. I was on mountain time, so I had that time before work to trade. And then I could also swing trade while I was working because I could take advantage of just limit orders that I could set up. There's your move. 1 for 1, done.
I can see there. Yeah, it's
Oh,
jumping.
I missed that one.
It was just,
Ricardo.
it took forever to accumulate here, and it finally broke. But it was there. The setup was there. This
I was on my phone. Damn.
was the 1 for 1. But long story short, it's like you can go and you can build your trading style in spite of work interrupting your trading. Build it a piece at a time. You know, you can dedicate time slots for different things. So like if you've got 20, 30 minutes even to trade the pre-market, sometimes that's your thing. If you're there, you got to learn and teach yourself how to trade that moment in time for that style. If you find yourself only able to glance at a phone like twice a day during your workday, you'll know that the first hour of market time and the last hour of market time tend to be very volatile. In the middle of the day, it tends to be kind of a lull. By the middle of the day, you can have a pretty good definition of what to expect for the rest of the day and possibly even the next day based on that price action. So you can start taking advantage of that as a swing trade zone. So you can go and set your limit orders based on that. Particularly, I've been swing trading options in that sense, and occasionally, back when I was swing trading and day trading options, I could use that very well. And then in that process, I learned how to wheel trade, where I was instead an option seller. So I could be long in a stock and then sell calls and puts against it with limit orders without having to be there. I could just set the limit order, have an alert go off on my phone when the order executes, stop what I'm doing for a split second or sneak off to the bathroom or something. Look at my phone and figure out, okay, trade went through, now what? Okay, set my limit order to get out of that trade as a good till canceled order and just let her rip. Walk away and just let it do its thing. So there is a way to do it. You just got to figure out what's going to work for you and what you can do to thread that time between working and trading.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm a little bit all over the place. Some days I can be present, some days I've got all day, and then other days I'm like, boom, yeah, working all day. So I'm working on it, Jeremy. I am. I'm in the background doing things.
There you go. That's what it's going to take.
Well, unfortunately, I got to get going. Thank you for everything, Jeremy, and good luck everybody in the market today.
No problem, man. Glad you had time to make a couple profitable trades before you start your workday.
Yes, trying to. Take care, guys.
You too, man.
Nice one, Ricardo. Bye-bye.
Drawing out this wedge on FRC because it can break. This can be a little bull flag. If this gives us a 1 for 1, it'll go up here for 1550. If it fails, it can go certainly to the open low down to 1325. All right. I'll give one last little look at SPY, and then I got to sign off for getting some other stuff done. Got an Evening Star here, or a Busby as this would be a setup. Usually you get the retrace on the third bar. That's already been done to the halfway point with a doji, but you can finish that move with this bar if it holds the 8 period. We got 40 seconds left on this 1 minute candle. You either A, get a bar, spinner bar measured move down, which would be down to 399.07, or if it holds above the body of the doji, you'll get a retrace first to about half of the third bar. Sometimes it'll go within a penny of the top of that bar. So 399.31 would be a bull target for this bar. It's got 15 seconds left. That takes us to the same as our 5-second chart, which shows an angular right there. Same target. Same halfway point. Boom, candle done. It made the halfway point with a wick. Either this trend will resume or it'll break over and test the 20. I think it's going to test the 20. And it would be this fan line down here. Oops, I'm trying to catch up on the chat for YouTube. some of us moderators have been turning the chat off on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's hard to be in 2 places at the same time, let alone 4 places at the same time. Well, I mean, our monthly rates are pretty low. I mean, if you want to check us out for a month, you know, we've got a lot of stuff that we do inside to help people out, and it's not just one of those places where you go in, you see a bunch of junk, and you take it with you and get out. It's a community. I mean, we communicate, we talk back and forth, and support each other. Plus, we've got just mounds of wisdom coming through our chats all day long. So. Yeah, that's that useless information that'll make you rich type of thing. I see that. And you're only 17. You're already into this. That's really cool.
Man, I wish I got into this at 17.
Right? Same. I'd be a millionaire by now.
Indeed, we all wish we would have gotten into this earlier. But when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
I always get asked why I'm not a millionaire yet, but the answer is
Working on it.
I make a living doing this. I'm taking distribution all the time. So I'm slowly building working capital to make those millions over time. But in the meantime, I got to pay the bills too.
I've made $1 million and lost $1 million. Does that make me a millionaire?
Once.
For a minute.
Yeah. Oh, man, let's see here. That was a little bit broken up. This might sound very stupid, but is there anything I could do for you that would make something easier for you just so I can get experience? I mean, for me, directly, if you were to learn, all I'd ask is pay it forward. Teach someone else. Oh, no, I don't mind. Our course is actually free from our website. It teaches a lot about it, all the different processes of trading and stuff, just in literature form. To join us for a month, it's only $47. So, I mean, it's pretty inexpensive for what you get. You get access to our next level library, which has just tons and tons and tons of different options things in it. Also day trading and swing trading. And then you get access to, hit us up with questions in our chats all day long, including after hours. If you tag one of us moderators in either of our main chats, someone will respond. They will reply. And come in with the knowledge of there is no such thing as a dumb question, because we have people from every level in our community. So when it comes down to it, some people may not have the courage to ask a question that may seem very simple, so they don't ask it. And if anybody asks it, it's a huge benefit to the community, because everybody gets that answer. So the value of the community itself is where it's at, and we don't, we're not one of those charge you $100 or $500 a month type of people for what we give, because we're just doing that, charging a fee at all just to keep the lights on so we can keep doing this. It keeps the company side of things alive, whereas the traders who are here as moderators, we make a living trading. There we go, quick regression line. Bam. Anytime you have divergence between two different trend lines or fan lines, draw that middle line, dude. It gives you exactly the break. Bam. Target nailed. Done. as fast as I could draw it because it's glitchy. We might get a 1-for-1 out of it too. Here's a half. Here's your 1. So this move can be equal down, well, 398.80, unless it bounces here. And then 1 minute chart. Where are we? Right on that angular, guys. Day trading is rocket science to a lot of people, but when you can simplify it, dude, this is where the money is, when you make it simple. All right, we got FRC just barely outside of that wedge, but I don't trust that thing until I see momentum, and there's 2 zones to get through. Whenever you see any kind of channel, whether it's a wedge, bull flag, you know, bear flag, whatever the hell you want to call it, doesn't matter. There's always going to be a typical 50% retracement line. Damn it, why won't it let me draw? Doesn't matter what kind of channel or wedge it is, it's all the same stuff. If this, then that. So we break here, this is our expected target. If we break that 50%, a lot of people are going to be trying to trade it up to here, the previous high. Your job, should you choose it, or your mission, should you choose to accept it, it's going to be to take profit before the next guy. So you got 3 targets in this range if it breaks. 50% retracement, this would be the 66.6 or whatever the heck it is, 66.3. Sometimes the 70, what is it, the 73.2 or whatever the hell the fib level is. I don't do fibs, so I just draw lines. And then your 100% line. So it's just a matter of if this, trade to here. If that, trade to here. If this, trade to here. If it breaks out, it gives you a full 1-for-1. This is your target up here. It's that simple. If this, then that. So all you have to do is treat it like a program and respond to the data you're given. If this, trade from this to that. A to B, rinse, repeat. All right, came down, nailed our fan line on the 1 minute chart. We're back to about the middle of the liquidity zone, and we're breaching it. We're going to the pivot. Let this candle close, because this will either reject here and come back down to our fan line, or this will pop up and hit the next pivot, which is 50% of that wedge. And the 5-second chart, well, top of those candles is this bar or this line basically. That's our regression line from our divergence here. It's 2 different styles to get to the same answer. If it holds here and breaks out, this is our target. If it fails here and breaks down, this is our target. Same, just 2 slightly different styles to get there. There's your pivot push. Once this is complete, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for recognizing that, man. It's something we always say, you know, like the cliche when everybody's on YouTube, like and subscribe and hit the bell. If you really like what we do and you see value in it, pay it forward. Tell your friends. You know, tell people who you know are also into trading. Come, let them check us out and show what we do. And that's the whole purpose of us even being on YouTube, is just to show people what we do as a community. In our chat, how does the push to talk work? Essentially, it's assigned to a button. You'll have to go into your user settings, the little cogwheel down next to your name at the bottom of the left column on Discord. Click that, go into voice settings, voice and video settings, and it's in there. It'll tell you what button it's assigned to if you click through the menus in there. All right, rejected the pivot twice with a couple wicks on the 1 minute chart. I'm going to take a brief look at the 5 minute chart. That's an end pattern already done to resistance. We're likely to retrace back to the support line. This is that time of day where things kind of grind slow though, so. And this is one of those rounding tops I always warn about too. So if it hits the support and accumulates a couple bars, watch for a quick rip to the upside. Rounding top reversals, I know that you can call them out on a daily chart, hour chart, whatever you can find. They're very common. They do have that look where they're bearish, but this is another one of those critical times where you do not trade the setup, you trade the break. If it's going to truly be bearish, it's got to break a key support level. Well, in this case, we've got the 200 meeting it. We got the fan line or the regression line of that channel, which is the middle of the channel. If it breaches it with force, sure, it can run down to the bear targets. Not a problem. It can actually be a bearish follow through. They look bearish to most people. But when they find support, they'll sometimes wick just below it. And then all of a sudden, the algos will buy the living crap out of that and rip the face off all the short people and run it to the next target. Happens all the time. They're bearish until they're not. Okay, there's your push. Now this is your break. If you're going to try and short this, be very wary that if it breaks back above that pivot line, it will rip your face off. But if it creeps down below this key support area, it can remain bearish and you can take a quick little trade on it. But know where that zone is. We're back above. Watch what happens next. Eight period, just about to cross the 20. Look for a bar to push. And it can snap over and fail too, so this is not a point to go long unless you're very, very quick with that get the hell out of the way button. Right there, boom. Almost every time it tests a breakout like that, it'll come back and test support one more time. And this is where you get your signal right here. See, still no go. Back to the key zone again. These can accumulate, and if it starts to channel here, it'll catch somebody off sides, whether it's bulls or bears. I guess I could almost call that a universal trap. It's not a bull trap or a bear trap. It's both.
Chances are it will trap both of them on one side and then the other.
Yep. And this is where a lot of people get chopped up. They'll get their stops run both ways, whether they're short or long. And until it breaks the accumulation, you got no trade. I mean, if you wanted to, you could draw, a wedge on it, because they do tend to narrow down. But the moment it breaks, it'll be a fast rip. And if you were watching the what was it, the flow chart there, you'll see the orders stacking on one side. Like your MOC will go off the other side and then bam, it'll just trigger. There's your angular breach once. This is where you get those really quick full bar moves. And it could be any one of these 5-second candles. It's just the anticipation. I'm biased a little bit more bullish than bearish at this point, but it still hasn't given us the break. It's trying to. Here it is. Wow, limit ordered right at the pivot. In fact, we could put a pivot on there. That would help things. It's the same pivot that's here. Jeez, they're gonna walk it both ways twice. Those algos are mean, man. There's your break. Come on, come on. Come on, little fella. Give us that push. Kind of strange how you get weird numbers in SPY lately. It used to always trade in quarters. Sometimes you get these weird numbers like 399.41. Who the hell would expect a pivot there? Well, when you trade that 5-second chart enough, you start to believe it. Let's see. Thanks for that little P on our YouTube channel there in the comment section. I appreciate that. There we go. Now we get a break. And there is a division line here too, so you can draw it quick as a fan, just like that. You have your target 1 for 1 right there. I do have ambitions to one day, whether it's by me or somebody I can put together a curriculum, a solid curriculum with. One day I would love to be in a means to be able to teach all of this to at-risk youth, kids who are like one step away from becoming caught in a system as an adult, and having just a series of bad decisions in life from there.
I've been teaching a young girl who lives, well, she grew up in Haiti. We basically adopted her. I've been supporting her for 10 years. We have her in the DR now, but I've been teaching her concepts of trading in hopes that someday I can help her do that on her own.
Exactly.
Because there's no other jobs. In places like that, there's no jobs.
Yep.
So how else are you supposed to earn any money?
Exactly. And that's kind of been like, what I want to do. I want to make an impact. I want to be able to change lives from the root of a lot of people. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I was born like into poverty, basically. Moved around from campground to campground as a kid to live. But I would like to be able to be a part of changing all of that. I want to make sure that people who feel like when they're born into poverty that they're constantly going to be stuck in that place, because they can make the break. They can be the one family member that makes the break, for all that matters. And that's the difference between changing a life and just more of the same.
Well, Jeremy, you might not have caught me in my youth when I was up to no good, but you certainly caught me now when you're making a difference, so thank you.
Oh, that's sweet.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so we met our fan line. That was our 1 for 1. That was it. Sorry it wasn't more fun, but that was that rounding top. I love talking about those things. This one took a couple surprises to get there, but it did rip a face off. And there was a lot of people on the wrong side of that. That's why it's choppy. All right, then, guys. Well, I'm going to go and sign off for a little while. I'll try and come back for Power Hour today, although I'm not sure about the setup. If we get the right setup and if I can time my errands and stuff correctly, I can come back for the last hour of trading, or at least the last half hour of trading, and maybe knock out a good Power Hour trade. It's looking like it will give us a good setup for a Power Hour trade today. Not sure if it's bullish or bearish yet, but I think we'll get something today. Hopefully it's not just, watching paint dry at the end of the day. And we'll just play it by ear, I guess. We'll see you guys later. And again, I wanted to thank you guys for joining us on YouTube. We really appreciate the feedback. And like I said, just, tell your friends. If you really like what we do, you're going to love what we can do with more. So, the more people we have in this community, the more we will be able to do. That's the whole point. Just keeping all the stuff in the background running, it has to be running to keep this ability to have this platform to teach from is the only reason we even charge a fee at all for membership. But like I said, it's well worth it. And the more we can bring that into operating itself, the more it can grow, and the more of this we can do on a much broader spectrum. We can have many, many more than just a few moderators. We can have hundreds of moderators to where we can constantly be paying it forward and teaching bigger and bigger groups of people. And that's what we would like to see, is just to be able to be that community and be that ability to provide many, many people to pay it forward. Because trading doesn't have to be impossible. It's really, simple price action is like the key to all of it. And then you could start there and move into things to where you could just have passive income strategies built on price action. And they can be complex options, they can be long-term investments, whatever. It all comes from one place. All right, guys, thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next time.